What is going on, guys? Gamers Goon here today with your Tuesday edition of the podcast. We got some good news this morning, man. I'm so glad I waited to record this until after my coaching class this morning because in the middle of coaching class, I got a notification that the Chicago Bears hired a general manager. This is going to be a very NFL heavy podcast. We're going to talk about the playoffs. We're going to be talking about the Chicago Bears' new GM. We're actually going to start with the GM. So if you're not interested in the NFL, and this video is not for you, all I ask is that you give me a thumbs up while you're still here, and share it out to some of your NFL friends, man. But we will be adding more to NBA. There will be a Royal Rumble video for predictions, a self-sustaining video, and then a recap will be in next Tuesday's podcast, along with some playoff stuff. But we got to talk about the Bears, man. The Bears, this morning, I'm sitting there, and I already kind of knew this because we saw George McCaskey pick up Ryan Poles. Worked with Kansas City. He actually played offensive line for the Bears during a preseason. He was an undrafted free agent. He's one of the guys that had a hand in the rebuild of that offensive line after the Super Bowl last year, where they went out and got Joe Tunney, Trey Smith, Nick Allegretti. They went out there and they got Orlando Brown. They went out there and they bolstered that offensive line. He was one of those guys behind that. So it's very promising to see him as somebody that could be out there and potentially bolster that offensive line in Chicago, because that's been one of my main concerns for Chicago the last 3 or 4 years. I've been saying it, I've been screaming it, I've been yelling it. If you watch any of my videos, there's been no bigger proponent of the offensive line in Chicago than me. I want an offensive line that can pass ball. I think this is a brilliant move. I think bringing in Ryan Poles is a brilliant move. He has experience on the offensive line. He's shown that he can identify offensive linemen. He's had the experience in the NFL. He's been a GM, or not, he hasn't been a GM. This is his first GM gig, but he's been in the front office of an NFL for most of his career, because he did not play as an actual player, really. He only was on a preseason roster, one season, and then he went for the Chiefs. And he's one of those guys that helped the Chiefs' offensive line become what it was. And the one thing I've been saying about this since I've heard about it, this is a home run hit. This is a home run. One of the things that was in the negotiations between Ryan Poles and the Chicago Bears is he's going to have say. He's going to be the one getting the final interviews with the candidates for the head coaching job. I think that eliminates guys that are Jim Caldwell. I don't think he's going to be somebody that he wants to work with. Now, 2 names I do know Ryan Poles does have connections with is Matt Eberflus, or whatever his name is. I know how to spell it. Let me go back to my text when I texted. Let me see if I can figure out how to say it. Here we go. Eberflus? I don't know. I might be pronouncing his name wrong. Matt. We're just going to call him Coach Matt. Defensive coordinator for the Colts. He has a good connection with him, and I also hear he has a pretty good connection because both him and Brian Flores played at Boston College, so I hear he has a pretty good connection with Brian Flores. And the 4 candidates right now that seem to be finalists are Dan Quinn, Jim Caldwell, Brian Flores, and Eberflus. All 4 of them have defensive backgrounds, which I don't think is a bad thing. Now, obviously, a lot of people want Dabble on. I'm not necessarily. If we get Dabble, great. I want Dabble. But that might not be him. I'm talking about somebody that just got. He's no longer with the team. Sean Payton. Sean Payton stepped away from the Saints. So maybe he's available. I don't know. I don't know if he is available, but if he is, maybe he's the guy. But it's very interesting to see what Ryan Poles does. He seems like he has an eye for offensive line talent. And if that is the case, I need him to go out there and get some offensive line. I think this could be great if you go out there and get some guys kind of like Jason Peters, but a little bit younger, preferably, that can go in there and teach Tevin Jenkins, Larry Bourne, James Daniels. I think those three right there have a good role on the team going forward. Cody Whitehair maybe, and then you got to get that fifth guy. It'll be interesting, man. It will definitely be interesting. But let's start talking about the playoffs, man. The playoffs, a phenomenal weekend of football, man. There was not a game this weekend that did not go down to the wire. It was amazing. There is some complaints coming from this weekend, mostly with the overtime rule. The overtime rule screwed us of a great game. So it's 36-36. Bills and Chiefs are duking it out. It goes to overtime. Patrick Mahomes scores a touchdown. In the overtime, that just means game over. I think there should be two different sets of rules. The playoffs, I don't agree with the first touchdown wins. I don't agree with it. I think both teams should get a chance to touch the ball. Because the way Josh Allen was playing, he was going to score. It would have been a back and forth. Who scores, who doesn't. I think they should adopt the NCAA rules. Because you robbed us of what could have been an even better game. I think the Bills win that game in NCAA rules. I think they do. Josh Allen was a man on a mission. And they robbed us out of more games of Josh Allen this season. And that's going to be one of the best feuds going on the next 10 years. Josh Allen versus Patrick Mahomes. Over the last year, they've played 3 times. It is 100-98. The Chiefs barely up. It's a dogfight, man. Those two teams against each other is a dogfight. And it's awesome. It's absolutely awesome. But they need to change that overtime rule for the playoffs at least. In the playoffs, I believe both teams should touch the ball. It's not fair. It's not fair. But then we get into who actually won. Obviously, the Chiefs won. Great game for the Chiefs. They won. The Rams, they won. They almost blew it. Tom Brady, 27-3. He made it 27-27, but they threw the ball to Cooper Kupp, and Cooper Kupp allowed them to hit a game-winning field goal. So they were able to survive. 49ers, they were playing the Packers. They somehow, some way, had Robbie Gould beat Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers got beat by a Bears kicker. Who owns you? Chicago owns you, Mr. Rodgers. So you still own us. Kind of funny how a Bears player ended your season. Try to do the last dance again. That fraud. And then we get to the Bengals game. The Bengals, they absolutely did their thing. The Bengals, I think everybody wants to see them go to the Super Bowl. Everybody loves Joey B, Joey Burr, Joe Shiesty. Everybody loves Cool Joe. I think Joe Burrow is going to be one of those guys that can insert himself in the Mahomes-Allen feud. And it could be a 3-way for who's the best AFC team for the next 10 years. It's going to be a good AFC. The league's in great hands. Aaron Rodgers might be retiring. Tom Brady might be retiring. The league is in great hands with those 3 players right there. But the Bengals, they're going up against the Chiefs next week. Who do I think is going to win? I'm going to go with the Bengals. Give us something different. There's really no reason why I'm picking the Bengals. I think it's going to be a shootout. It's going to be a high-scoring affair. I'm just taking them because I want to see something different, man. We've seen the Chiefs in there the last 2 years. Let's see something different. And then we get to the Rams versus 49ers. I'm going to be honest, the AFC Championship game is more than likely the Super Bowl. I don't see the 49ers or Rams beating either the Chiefs or the Bengals. Between the 49ers and the Rams, I think the Rams are the better team. I think they're the better team. They just strike me as winning. That defense is too good. As long as they don't take their gas or their foot off the gas, they'll be fine. But that's really all I got for y'all today. Thank y'all for watching. I'll see you guys next time.